Normal day at the office, Michael, is that why that keeps popping up?
You said you want a portrait of a Board of Ed member.
My former career.
It's a bucking bronco bell.
Oh, okay.
And the
rider is fully airborne.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not that, it's just what's on my notebook is not coming up. It's not coming well from on the screen, and I don't have any idea why. So, well set up.
Oh, sorry, exactly. I'm sorry.
No, I apologize, I don't know why.
Here it comes.
Yeah, but it's showing up on my screen, it's not showing up on the big screen. And our IT people have abandoned us for the evening, so the reason I.
Michael, it's usually a function key and
Yeah.
function key and the number, push it up to an outside screen.
Select your display.
F4, F5.
Function, which one?
Look at the top, there should be a picture of a monitor.
Should be 4.
Duplicate extend, second screen only.
Duplicate extend.
Duplicate.
There you go.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yay, I'm the only one anymore.
It's easy to find the needle. At least I can remember where the needle is. Thank you kindly.
Mr. Nargi, I hope some of what I talk about addresses your concerns too. I've been lucky enough to be out in the schools, in the community, working on STEM education. So what is STEM? STEM is an interdisciplinary approach to teaching and learning, and it's all related to science, technology, engineering, and math, and they've put in the arts piece, which it naturally falls into STEM anyways, the creativity piece.
You're right, keep on going.
Many of the necessary skills that our students need are embedded in STEM to get them ready for college and career readiness. Now this gentleman, I'm going to show you a quick little video, and his question, he's asking these children, why should he hire them?
So tell me, why should we hire you? To kick ass. Why do you do? Because I got stuff I can do. I like learning my friends. I like ponies and lip gloss. I do a pretty good job. I can't really talk about it. My Bobby got married to my dad before I was born. Yeah, because my middle name is Rose. Mom, thanks. Would you like some lip gloss? I have some in my purse. I ripped my tights. I'll leave it right here. For computer security, I'm kind of a star at being in love. Yeah. I don't have anything else. I like chipmunks. Oh, I have one more. What are the hours? I have a tight schedule.
Tomorrow's jobs are in science, technology, engineering, and math. Good thing you have a few more years to get them prepared.
I think I'm done.
Okay, so I'll talk a little, I'm not going to talk about everything that I've been working on, but I will just highlight a few areas that have been so successful for the students. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is some STEM lessons we've been doing with the fourth grade classrooms in every elementary school. And we've given them a challenge of designing a lander and a rover to carry their Eggonaut up into Mars. Okay, so teachers did, some of them are really taking it to the next level, doing research and biographies and tying it and really doing an interdisciplinary approach. The kids absolutely love it. I was over at Vogel Wetmore today, And, you know, I wish that you could have been there with us, but, you know, some of the comments the kids are making, this is the best day ever, and, you know, we go back and reflect, we redesign, and they're just learning so much. Another piece that we did was we brought in a presenter from United Technologies, and he was an engineer, and he did a wonderful presentation on the spacesuit and turbine engines and all that's involved, and he talked a lot about what they need from their education and how they need to persevere and how they need to work hard to achieve their goals, and that they can do it. And I will share some of these thank you letters that the kids wrote. These were from Forbes. Really hit the mark. They got it. You think they're not listening, they think they're not paying attention, and they totally got it. So we will share these with you, and please take the time to read them, because it'll show you that they really took the presentation in. So that was kind of our kickoff for these STEM lessons. And this, what you'll see here is a 4th grade classroom, and you're looking for the collaboration and the creativity and the communication and the problem solving, and they work so well together. And so they're created, they're given a problem, and they have to work together to solve it. You heard one of the students say, you know, we have enough money. There were constraints budget-wise, material-wise, and they're given time constraints as well. So at the middle school, one thing we're working on is looking at different options for our kids. We went out to Middletown and looked at what they're doing in their middle school, which is very similar to Torrington. They put in, the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology has a curriculum for middle school and high school. They implemented it this year. We went over and watched the kids, and 90% of their kids will go through this rotation, this STEM rotation, and they're just, she said, the superintendent said it was the best money they've spent in a long time. Very low-cost curriculum. We have an Artwell grant that they're going to work on Saturdays with the kids. They're going to help fund some of the STEM lessons and give resources to the teachers. We're going to have a Lego robotics club at the middle school. They're going to compete in the First League competition starting next year. I wrote a grant and we received it. It will help pay for the camp invention that we did last year. 8th grade is really excited to pilot STEAM during their RICA, in which they're going to work with Whitman Robotics, and they are going to create robotic arms in partnership with them. We did a manufacturing expo already in partnership with the Chamber, and they've been super helpful with us in making the connections. And also Northwestern Community College has been very helpful in everything that we're doing, and some of our kids are in the Young Entrepreneurs Society. At the high school level, you know, we're really just starting to look at things and research things, but some exciting things that are happening. Education Connection is, we're going to partner with them. We'll be one of 6 schools that is going to take part in an environmental science group cohort of 6 schools, and they'll go out into the field as well as bringing the teachers back into Torrington High School to do some of the teaching and learning. Really excited about this. So far on February 2nd, we're doing a job shadowing day. We have 40 companies so far, and we'll still reach out for more. Just some of the people, some of the companies that I can share with you are the hospital, okay? They're going to allow students to work with administration, marketing, community relations, medical, the emergency staff, the EMT staff, the nursing staff, They'll also have hands-on learning experiences with the hazmat suits, blood pressure and heart patient simulations, and they will also get a tour. We have Whitman Robotics taking 6 of our students, manufacturing, sales, and engineering. We have lawyers, we have the whole gamut. So not only is it related to STEM, but we hope to reach all of those kids and yes, the at-risk population. We plan on really going after and making sure that they participate in this job shadowing day as well. I do have some interesting statistics for you. STEM is so important because employers are saying the workers are coming in, they lack the communication skills, they lack the collaboration, they lack the perseverance. So STEM just naturally gives that to the students. Critical thinking, employers thought 92% of their workers need work on that. Ethics and social responsibility, 71%. Professionalism and work ethic, 70%. Creativity and innovation, again, that's right embedded in STEM education, about 70%. Lifelong learning, self-direction, just self-motivation, 65%. And I've heard it from our local businesses and companies, they're saying the same thing. As we know, Common Core and all of what our job is to get our students not only ready for college, but career readiness as well. And 31% of the employers are struggling to fill jobs. There's a talent mismatch. They need specific skills. So we really have to make a shift. The 4 C's I've mentioned over and over, but the critical thinking, the communication piece, the collaboration piece, and the creativity, the kids have to have those skills to be successful. And I liked fighting chance, somebody mentioned before. If we want to give our kids a fighting chance, this is really a direction we need to head in. We need to get the kids, everybody's tuned in to technology, but they're more of at a 2D level, and we need to get them at a 3D level with the whole programming and computer science piece. And then, they are going to need some level of post-secondary education, but I've heard from many of the local businesses, and they will help pay for some of our kids in those classes. So even if we can't get them to college right away, and we prepare them with jobs, they will be able to move on and advance their careers.
That's really a goal for them to have a career, not just a job.
Right. So part of what I do, I hope, is that we reach that at-risk population and prevent some of these outplacements. And even Middletown mentioned that they're saving money by implementing the STEM because they're not losing the kids to the magnet schools or maybe one of the tech schools. And then that whole other alternative piece is a whole other thing that we're not talking about tonight, but this type of learning does reach those kids quite well. So I really would love if you would take the time to look at these letters when I pass them out. Does anybody have any questions?
How many students will benefit from the shadow?
We hope, and I'm going to ask for more. I would love to get 150 to 200 juniors and seniors out there. Transportation will be, I have a meeting on Friday with the high school to try to iron out some of those challenges. But I had an interesting conversation with my son over Thanksgiving, and we weren't even talking about this, but he's talking about his job, and he's in sales, he's doing great. But he shared with me, he said, when I was in high school, he said, I wish we had job shadowing, I wish we had internships, and he said, I wish somebody would have made me go because I wouldn't have gone, because I was the cool jock, and I wouldn't have gone. So my hope is that we go out and really recruit these kids and reach them and get them out there. And that's just the beginning of the partnership. And these companies, they are saying they want to help us. So we need to reach out to them and use them. And the chamber is amazing, very helpful with us. and Northwestern Community College has been super helpful, and everybody we've talked to has been super helpful, but it can't happen if we don't have the things in place to make it happen. But I hope to answer your question, reach as many as we can.
When Robin speaks of the chamber, she's talking about the Manufacturers Coalition, which meets monthly. And one of the things that came up last week was in manufacturing and jobs, and they said if you can get people to come to work on a daily basis, motivated, you know, willing to learn, so for advancement, said we'll take them, and they're willing to work with us to come into the schools and, you know, help train the students as well.
Andrew?
Just a thought, which is, I know we always talk about getting the kids like in their junior, senior year in high school. Is there anyone out there, education land, that's trying to do this with first and second graders to get them actually
Yes.
see this is a fun job besides being a
Absolutely.
fireman?
Last year, actually, we had a career fair at Forbes with about 25 to 30 companies came in. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So yes.
And then-
This year, my focus for that, though, was more high school, middle school, because they did it at the elementary. We would love like a traveling road show, but the companies, you know, you can only ask so much of them at one time. So-
And when that second grader or fifth grader says, I kind of like that, then do we put him like into computer land and follow up and, you know, like kind of dialogue with him constantly to see
I
that
think
he...
that's definitely our goal, you know, and that's what we're trying to put in place, but more based on the student interests. And the kids are amazing, so we just need to make sure we do our role in getting them on the right path. But, yes.
I actually have a suggestion, something that I saw that was, at least I felt was kind of missing as far as the engineering/manufacturing part. I didn't see anything in there about Six Sigma or lean manufacturing techniques or things like that. I know that's a skill that is missing a lot of times from the new engineers that come
Trust me, I
out.
know, because my husband's trying to make my house lean.
Yes.
So, okay. But.
Because that would be something kids can very easily follow along with, value stream mapping and things like that. Like, you know, how do you make this efficient?
We're kind of focusing more on elementary and middle school to build the excitement and the awareness right now.
Mhm.
This is like a 3 to 5 year plan, but the one thing I didn't mention, and it was on one of my slides, we're looking at, say, the virtual high school who offers STEM classes where they would train one of the high school teachers in maybe a class like that. We also have classes up at Northwestern, Kevin Kennedy, who is working with us where we're trying to direct some of these kids on that path. But the exposure has to be there, you know, prior also. So, you know, we're trying.
Would be a big, to your point, get like a white belt certificate program
Sure.
or something, and then they have something going out
Sure.
the door that's marketable.
Right. You know, I think we really hope to get there, and Kevin will help us along those lines too. The CCAT curriculum, also, the reason why we're going with them is because they can help us partner with those manufacturers too.
Right, and I don't think there's a manufacturer in the state that wouldn't help somebody to get their black belt in Six Sigma.
Right.
I mean, it just makes sense.
Right. You know, that's definitely something that would be a goal down the road.
Right now, we do have 3 students who are started this year as juniors and are working towards their associates in pre-manufacturing, and that's part of our extended day program.
So just to expose them, you know, we have to get them out also though, because they don't, you know, just to talk about it, they don't know, they don't understand unless they see it.
Sure.
So we got to, you know, we have to do a good job of getting them out there between the internships and the, you know, the apprenticeships. There's a lot that we can tackle.
There's a lot of pathways the kids can take.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
More important is that they stay here, work here, help the economy.
Okay, in-district, out-of-district student service programs. Brought to us by fabulous. last meeting when we said you'd have all kinds of time? We lied. I'm sorry, lie's an awful term. We misled you.
What do I
All the time you need.
Thanks.
Just go back.
Thanks so much for, thank you so much for, inviting me to speak tonight. And I'm going to be talking about special education programs out of district and in district. And you all should have a folder with a packet of information that of data that was, gathered for you on the programs that we have. And there are in that packet, there are 4 groups of handouts. So if you could kind of follow with me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions along the way or at the end of the presentation. So our first group or our first packet is really just describing the amount of students that we currently have outplaced or out of district, both in our regular education and our special education, programs, and looking at the total of tuition there, the 2014-15 year. If we turn the page and we look at, this pictorial here, there's a chart comparing placement costs in, graphic form. And you can see that we have 67 students in school choice programs, which are the programs like the vocational programs, BOE programs. We have 23 students in school choice that are special education students. 1 student in school choice public school. 45 students in magnet schools, and 80 students that are outplaced that are special education. And if you look across in the green, you'll see the costs that's associated with the total amount of students in that category. And currently we have 11 DCF outplaced students in the district. And you'll see that chart there that shows the numbers of students and the cost per placement category. So these are the categories that we have in the district of students that are outplaced. I know that the board and the budget subcommittee wanted to see really an outline of not just the general, costs and general amount of students, but in each category. So that's been provided for you here. Okay? And if you have questions, that require me to drill a little bit more, then certainly I can do that. So that's the first piece. And then group 2, so the second handout, talks a little bit more in depth about, when we talk about a DCF, outplaced students. Well, what is the facility that we're talking about, and what is the cost for that? And every facility is different, so it's very difficult to look at, okay, if you're a DCF outplaced situation, how much will it cost? So that depends. It depends on where the student is placed and the services that the student requires. So when you look at DCF costs there, you'll see that, it varies. And that depends really on the student and the student needs, okay? And you'll even see that some students, for instance, when you go down to Meriden Public, that's obviously a public school, so that cost is not as high, okay? This really is special ed only by school category, so it does not include the regular education students that are outplaced. So we're looking here in group 2 at our students that are outplaced for various reasons, but only those students that have have an IEP of special education students. Okay. And so again, if we're looking at our number of students, you'll be able to see across each line there where the particular student is placed, as well as the cost. And you will notice, though, that under court hospital placement right now, There is some money, there are some monies budgeted, although we don't currently have someone placed, that number can go up or down, and depending on, you know, some years it's higher, some years it's lower. It really just depends upon, you know, which students are placed in various locations, but based on courts, and so that's hard to tell, really hard to tell. So that's that piece, and if you're looking in the green, all the way at the bottom there, and the green highlight, that's our cost for special ed only students out of district, and that's in the vicinity of $6 million. The next page gives you a bar graph, okay, representing that same information. So you can see, you know, in that form, you know, how many outplaced students. I mean, the center number, that 80 students, that's how many students are outplaced right now. That it was not DCF, and you know, it was not school choice. It was the programs that we currently have did not meet the needs of those students, and that, you know, went through the whole process of the PPT process, identification, and all the things that are involved with that.
Can I ask a quick question about those 80 students? Because I know you said that costs vary. Just, I did a little quick math on that. That's $66,309 per student.
I'm sorry, where were you looking?
For the 80 students, you got the cost of $5.3 million basically.
Right.
For 80 students, it's $66,000 a student. Why is it that much?
Because the
Maybe I just missed that or something, because I was doing the math.
okay, well, if we look,
If you look
well,
at the first page of that handout,
Yeah, yeah.
you're gonna see one student's 109,000, one student's 75,000.
Kids are profoundly
It breaks it down. Depends on the severity.
it depends, yeah.
Okay. There were just wide variances on the average per student on the different categories. I'm just trying to.
Right. No, that's okay. Yeah, and what'll happen too is you'll even have a couple, let's say you may even have 3 students in the same placement, the same actual, you know, school, outplaced, and one may you'll find that 1 or 2, maybe like $30,000 more than the other one. You'll say, why is that? That's because the related services for that particular student is very different to, you know, let's say the 3rd student that goes there. So it could even vary not only, you know, among, you know, the various placements, but even within the placement, it could vary. You could have, and we have situations where we have 3, 4, 5, 10 students in one location. And you say, wait a minute, why aren't the tuitions all the same? And it's because it's a very specialized, you know, program that particular student might have that requires a lot of, you know, ancillary or related services. We call it like occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, behaviorists, you know, all kinds of different kinds of things. So it really does vary, okay? So that's the second piece there, okay, that second sheet, talking about that. And, you know, really this is intended to really answer that question that you asked is, you know, why the variance, why the cost? And then you can also see, again, how many, you know, the majority of the students are outplaced from directly from, you know, from us through the process, okay? If we look at the 3rd page there, okay, you'll get a snapshot of school tuitions. And, you know, this is these programs are all over, you know, the state of Connecticut, very specialized programs. And also we do have a couple of placements outside of the state where unfortunately, even in the state, there weren't any programs that would be addressing the needs of the particular students, okay? But we're really taking a close look at that and working also with families as well to make sure that, you know, that continues to be reviewed and it's not just a forgotten situation, that we keep reviewing, you know, the appropriateness of these placements. That's all part of, you know, the kind of sort of global plan of what we're looking at. if you look at on that same, when it says encumbered, okay, that's really, we know how much the cost is going to be, so that's already, you know, sort of taken out of the budget, and that's a process that we work really closely with Hugh on to make sure that all of that checks and balances are there. Okay. With those highlighted in the blue, okay, and that's Danbury Public School, Meriden, Naugatuck, okay. NTEU, which is a transition program. Sometimes what happens is students, programs require that they do some work after graduation, and because, you know, legally we have to provide until the student is 21 in terms of special education, we really need to make sure that that student is ready and able to function well in society and contribute, and they may have not met their transition goals, which is a whole other piece of the PPT process. And so we then have a work program that they participate in. Okay, but these costs were not encumbered because for one reason or another we didn't know exactly that those students would be going to that location. Okay, so that's kind of the variance sometimes. Okay, then you have also some backup data in that packet, just addressing, you know, the bus costs. That's another projected transportation cost. So when we're talking about the cost, we're talking about tuition, the related services, and then we're also talking about, you know, the transportation to get the students there, because we're responsible for that as well. But I did want to, one of the questions that I would have if I were sitting there would be, what does this mean? You got run 1, run 2, run 3, run 4, you know. So what happens with that is sometimes there are students that go to the same location, right, from Torrington. Okay, we bus those students. However, for safety issues, or the student is, based on their IEP, cannot be transported, you know, together, because we always try to make sure that our runs maximize, you know, and are you know, fiscally responsible in terms of like getting the students from Torrington to the locations. But sometimes, you know, we can't really have that because of security or, you know, safety issues, because the students that we're talking about, you know, really need that high level of care in many cases, so in all cases actually. So, you know, that those runs that you see there, you may be saying, well, wait a minute, why is it that you have, you know, 5 students, why don't you just have, you know, 1 run, okay? That's the reason, okay? And then also, you'll see that also at you'll see it at a couple of schools, okay? And in one situation, Oak Hill, that there are a few locations for that particular organization, so that's why that's you know, that's why that's there, okay? And then in some cases, you'll see no transportation costs, and that's because it's a situation where, you know, in a couple of those situations, it's actually the student is there residential. There is no transportation costs because they you know, they live on premises. And then we can go over to the next page and look at the breakdown of each school and the amount of students, and then the total per school. And then you can kind of look across and see how much per day on average. And really, the bottom line, the total is that right there, 587,477. Okay. And you can also look at support costs. It says outplay support costs. That also includes one-on-one aids. Again, some of our students require one-on-one assistance when they're in those facilities, and that would be an additional cost, so that's included in that as well.
And
Yes.
what you're saying on that last page is that's the para cost?
It is the support cost. The number is already included. It's, let's see. It include, yes, it could include one-on-one aides. Yes, it does. The number of students with one-on-one aides. Yes. So that's an additional
Right,
cost.
those are para costs in addition to tuition.
No, it's included in that 6 million. This is just a breakout of it,
Okay.
so you could sort of see like everything that goes into the total cost.
And each program may charge different
Every program charges a different, right? And
price for
yeah.
a pair of.
And also for their related services too. It all depends.
What reasons would we be transporting students to Oak Hill for? Because Oak Hill is no longer a school. It's run mainly, group homes. As it happens, I'm an Oak Hill graduate. My sister was the last graduate of the school.
And, well, the ones at Entellini over in New Hartford, for instance, they would provide, it is not really, it's still providing the education for the student to whatever threshold that student has, though. We still have to provide them with, any student up to the age of 21, with, whatever it is that they need at their threshold for their particular goals and objectives. So what you're asking is why we would provide transportation there?
Transportation to Entellini.
To Oak Hill?
To Oak Hill, yeah.
Because that's where their educational program is.
Oh,
That,
okay.
yeah, so that, yeah, and that, usually what happens is parents, visit and.
Well, that's great. I'm surprised to learn that an educational program still goes on there, because it's certainly not the way it was when I was there in the 70s.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm not, I'm not arguing that it shouldn't be provided. I'm surprised and gratified to learn that it still is.
Oh, okay, good.
The program really works for children who are also medically,
Complex,
Really,
right,
yeah.
medically complex.
Yep.
Giving them a lot of functional, it's a functional education for the most part, Did you have a question?
I did, this is incredible. We've tried to get this information for so long, and it's hard to believe that it's broken out so nicely on these sheets. So thank you so much, because I think it also
I have to think that.
gives people an idea of
What's
what's entailed and what we're actually dealing with from a budgetary standpoint to service these kids, which deserve to be serviced.
Thank you, and I have to,
Right.
I have to really thank the staff too, like Beth and Ronnie, because, they work really hard to help with this, and Hugh, and everybody did. But thank you so much. Now we're up to group 3, right? Yes, group 3, okay. This is regular education placement. So now these students are not special education students, right? But they are either because it's a school choice or a BOE program over, which is still part of that, WMOGO or Northwest Regional. These students are students that go out of our district, are still our students, and we're still responsible for them and for the tuition costs at those schools. So we have the magnet schools, which are the correct schools, okay? 45 students, and that actually speaks to, the increase, when we're looking at our monthly, budget analysis and expenditures and how it's over. It's because we do have 45 students now, so that's increased. And then we have, in Region 7, we have 1 student. We have over at WMOGO, we have 60 students, and we have 7 students at Northwest Regional, the other BOE program in the area, okay? So total of 113 students that are outplaced. They're really not out, they're in regular education, but they're not within, the Torrington Public Schools. There are students though. So that data is really important to look at, because it's, it's like $680,000 that we're looking at, and just listening to, Oh, there she is. Yes, listening to Robin, that whole kind of, it's a full circle thing, trying to keep the kids here with what, what's being done with her and the program. So, but as it stands now, that's what we're looking at when it comes to students that are in regular education that are outside of our area. Now, if you wanted to really drill down into CREC, and what those are, these are all of the facilities for CREC, okay, the different schools that our kids are going to. So you could even kind of take a look and say, okay, so 14 students are, at the Arts High School, so, you have 2, you have 3 in the medical professions, that kind of thing. 2 in aerospace. So that's a little breakdown of the CREC. And, I'm sorry.
The total, was 206,000.
So for the CREC alone, right, it's 206,885. So that's those 45 kids, those 45 students, that's the cost of tuition, okay? And that's, we could make the argument that that's what's attracting, that those areas is what is attracting the kids to leave our district, okay? And then if we look at the third page, we can see the increase in students that are in regular education that are now at our magnet school, at the magnet schools. So in 2012, we had 12 students, so it was about $60,000. In 2013-14, it increased a little bit to 19 students, and that was about $84,000. And this year, it's more than doubled to 45 students, and so of course, the tuition has more than doubled. It's $206,000.
Got a question over here.
I'm sorry, yes.
When you look at the cost of these regular ed placements out, you're averaging for the CREC schools about $5,000, for the magnet and the BOE, you're like $7,000. That's the total cost plus transportation, or that's total with transportation? That average, say for example, just go magnet aerospace, you say tuition, so that's 54 plus transportation.
That would, right, that's just the tuition
and
per,
what's the transportation on that?
And the transportation is, let's see, I think that was here.
We pay for tuition to Wamogo. We do not pay for any, we pay transportation for Wamogo. We do not pay transportation to any CREC Region 7.
Okay, I guess the point I'm raising, which is
the cost. You're saying it looks cheap to educate a child at a magnet school.
Or, all of these schools, it's almost like if we would out-district the entire student population, we'd
That's
be...
not the whole, that's
That's
just
not
our
the whole
portion.
cost.
And that's why I'm asking what
State.
additional costs are we?
The state, your state taxes that you pay into, they will get at least another $8,000 to $12,000 or more to add on to that $5,400. Plus, if you do provide transportation, I think they get another $2,500 per pupil. So this is just a small. the
This is
magnet
our
schools-
portion.
The correct magnet schools are funded through state funding.
State and local funding.
Local, yes.
Our tuition and their portion. So they are more expensive than
Yes, they are.
plus transportation.
And they have the lovely opportunity to get people to apply to go there. And, I don't know, I guess an argument could be made that kids with special needs don't really get opportunities there that often.
That's the other thing I want to say with your students not requiring support services, or your regular education students who go to any of these schools. If for some reason they are not performing to the academic standards of the school, they're back in Torrington.
And then they reimburse us for that money?
No, but what's worse is we have.
That would be nice.
We gotta get you up to state to work for us.
We wind up with children especially at the high school level, who are undercredited and overaged.
Yeah.
And then they go on our records, if they don't finish in 4 years, as they impact our graduation cohort. And we have no way for not supporting them. I mean, for counting them, they're on our graduation rate, not on the school they began with.
And that can't be asterisked, somehow, so as to at least inform the city of Torrington
If I could find a
what's
way, I
going on.
would.
What?
If I could find a way, I would, because I
Yeah.
believe it's unfair.
Yeah, you agree.
And not that I like to say things are unfair. The other piece is, anyone who went to a magnet school had to come to Michigan Avenue and show proof of residency. So I interviewed many of these parents, asking them why they were leaving Torrington. And if you look at Reggio, which is an early childhood program, and they were leaving full-day K, which I said, well, we have it this year. Well, we didn't know, we applied, maybe we'll come back next year. And the other piece was that they worked in that direction towards Hartford, so it was much easier to drop their child off in in Avon, because they have wraparound services. They open up at 6:30 in the morning and they close at 6:30 at night. So they had child care before and after school, plus a full-day kindergarten program. And they also have preschool programs, and it's all free. We don't pay for preschool, but we do pay for a kindergarten child. And there's 24, and out of those 24, 20 of them were entering kindergarten.